Inside the Toyota Land Cruiser, this is the Heritage Edition, which is supposed to celebrate over 60 years of the Land Cruiser nameplate. And for this special edition vehicle, they've made some notable exterior and interior changes. Starting with the exterior, they've added 18-inch forged BBS alloy wheels. They've deleted a lot of the chrome on the front end of this vehicle and the side panels. They've removed the running boards from this, added a Yakima roof rack, and on the D-pillar you have some vintage Land Cruiser script or badging. On the interior, they made some changes with some of the piping and upholstery for this cabin. They've deleted the third row and deleted the cool box in the center armrest. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the ergonomics and practicality of this cabin. When it comes to the ergonomics of the Land Cruiser, it's old school Toyota truck. I mean that in the best kind of way. This entire interior is ruggedized and simplistic. So storage. This was originally a 3-row SUV. However, they've deleted the third row for the Heritage Edition, which means you have even more rear cargo capacity behind the second row. The hatch itself is a split tailgate design, which is also neat, and the second row seats fold entirely flat. When it comes to occupant capacity, the second row is fairly roomy. If you are a full-size adult over 6 foot tall, you should fit back there fine. The front seats themselves are somewhat comfortable. They are not the best by any means, but they should fit a variety of body types. And if you like a tall command of the road, or if you like sitting up high, you should be able to do that no issue. And this thing has a ton of glass, which means there are no blind spots. When it comes to the front storage, the door panels or door cards are relatively narrow, which means you can't fit a large water bottle in there, but they're big enough for wallets. Your center glove box, or center armrest, I apologize, is now no longer cooled, which means there's a ton of space in there, and your glove box is enormous. So with that all said, let's talk about the electronics before we head into the shop. When it comes to the electronics of this cabin, it's old school. And if you're paying new, nearly $90,000, you might be a little bit disappointed, but I will say this, at least everything works. Your head unit. It's about a generation or two old in the Toyota architecture. You don't have Apple CarPlay, you don't have Android Auto, but you do have Bluetooth audio and USB audio. It works pretty well. The control structure is a mix of physical and touch, and you do have a reasonable backup camera system, though it's relatively low resolution. You do have a set of Toyota Safety Suite features like lane keep assist, or really lane departure warning, and adaptive cruise control. It works okay, but I acknowledge that's not why you're buying this thing. The rest of this cabin, when it comes to the control structure, is really simplistically laid out. Your heated seats, your cooled seats, and your heated steering wheels are all physical controls. Your all-wheel drive and off-road controls are also physical, which I'll walk you through all the modes when we head into the shop. Past that, the last thing to talk about is the JBL audio system. It's actually pretty decent. The noise floor in this cabin is relatively low. However, you do get some wind noise from the Yakima roof rack. So with that, let's head into the shop. Mark, we're underneath the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, the last time I was underneath this was 2017, and shockingly, it's identical, Jack. The only thing that's changed is my hairline's got weaker, I have more skin conditions, is 3 inches longer than it used to be, but the Toyota Land Cruiser is still going strong for at least 6 more months until they kill it off.
Yep, 2021 is the last model year, and they did do some revisions throughout the years. So this vehicle was introduced in the late 2007, early 2008 time period as the J200 generation Land Cruiser. They got a mid-cycle refresh, which moved this automatic transmission from an archaic 5 or 6 speed to the 8-speed automatic that you find now.
And this is loosely based on the Toyota Tundra architecture. It's been shortened, switched around because it's not a pickup truck.
And strengthened at least a little bit, and they added a ton of skid plates to this. I mean, honestly, Mark, this is an old school truck with not a lot of problems, right? Yes, Toyotas do rot out, and the 5.7 liter apparently at higher mileage has some head gasket issues, but there's a reason these things hold their value. Everything's mechanical and everything works, including KDSS.
Yeah, and so I think this is the most important thing to talk about with the Land Cruiser is that people will really appreciate this when it's gone. Like, you'll see this in another 10 years, bring a trailer or whatever the hell it'll be, people will be paying almost identical what these things are now when you can't get them anymore. Because things like KDSS, which is its disconnecting sway bar system, is all hydraulic. It's there's not 20 ECUs running it. It's just basically mechanically, if you drop a wheel, it disconnects the sway bar. The lines run to the front, to the back. The only thing you have to do is bleed that system. And there's something about that, the fact that you know that you could park this, work on it on your own, and not have to worry with it, have a ton of headache. And you get in America, you get the 5.7 liter V8, which I don't think anywhere else gets that.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the 5.7 liter is the fact that it makes more power than the smaller displacement engines outside of this country. It doesn't have cylinder deactivation. It's going to be fairly reliable, and it makes pretty good horsepower, almost 400.
Yeah, and when we get in the drive, we'll talk about that. But again, this is exactly the same as the video I did in 2017. So it's just everything's steel. You have double wishbone front. You have a live axle rear, but you have coil springs versus leaf springs. It rides the same to me. It feels the same. It's just one couple model years later. And
you still have the center locking differential from Torsen and all the drive modes. So you have the crawl mode, which is basically their off-road cruise control, which when you have it in 4-low, you can also change the drive mode around from like mogul mode, rocks and sand, mud, all that other fun stuff. And it does do a better job helping you keep this vehicle moving off-road.
And it has some type of nostalgic charm to the way that it looks and feels. It's not a modern vehicle. And that's also why people love it. It doesn't have the gimmicks. It doesn't have all the things that people are like, oh, how big's my screen? How big's this? And what tech does it have? That's not what this is about. And that's why I like it, even though I'm not, this is never something that I would own, but that's why I appreciate it so much.
It's a niche product. It is hyper expensive. This thing's like $87,000.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Which, to a regular person, the fact that it doesn't have things like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the interior is dated, they're not going to understand, but there's a good reason that these things are worth the money they are in the used market.
And like I said, in 15 years, this is not going to lose its value.
Yeah.
As long as there's no regulations that kill off driving it, people are going to have this on the road for the next,
gajillion years.
Yeah.
So with that, Mark, let's take this thing out on the road.
All right.
Toyota Land Cruiser, Mark.
Let's say goodbye.
All right.
Permanently.
V8!
I'll miss that.
Yeah, there's something to be said about this Toyota power plant. It has such a tremendously warm resonant frequency that you almost forget that this thing is like 5,800 pounds and not particularly fast, because it does sound so nice and smooth.
Yeah, it really is, and that's one of the things I really loved about the Tundra. In a lot of ways, this definitely feels like it really is kind of a Tundra, but it rides way better than the Tundra. It's less bouncy, it's less springy, it's more comfortable to drive, and I think that's also one of the reasons why it has a huge following. It's right in that good balance between truck ride, usability, and comfort.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about the modern offerings being able to do the dual personality thing a little better. Like the Defender has better road manners and some of the more modern body on frame trucks like a Suburban, but what you're getting in this instead is proven reliability and not a disposable product.
Yeah.
You're buying this to keep it, right? This is not really a lease vehicle. You're buying this to keep for 10 years, 15 years, potentially even longer. And if you're doing that, a lot of this in the interior is pretty timeless. It's very straightforward, and when you get out here in the snow, which is our closest thing to off-roading where we live, it's extraordinarily capable.
The very things that I know that people love about this are a lot of the things that I hate about it, though. I think about, because how much is this, 80,000?
Almost 90 grand.
Okay, so this is a lot of money.
Oh, it's
an enormous amount of money. And, I think about, okay, look at all the luxury SUVs we get in and out of. And granted, some of them are not as capable as this, not as durable. They're not going to last as long. There's more gimmicks. But they drive better, and they ride better. They're quieter. The electronics are better. Basically, every single thing you use on pavement, in terms of handling as well, they're way better choices than this. But
I don't
most of
disagree with
those,
you.
we're not going to be having a discussion about those in 3, 5, 7 years. And that's the very thing that is confusing to me about this, is I would not enjoy driving this every day like some of those, but at least I would know that I could honestly have this long term and it's going to hold its value.
Yeah, the inputs in this thing are not good. The steering's slow, right? I don't want to get this to oversteer because the rack, the actual steering ratio, is so slow. You have no feedback from the wheel. It gets blown around at higher speeds. It's not particularly fast. It doesn't stop well. But again, right, you're buying this because you love old school Toyota products, right? Yes, this has the 8-speed automatic and it's pretty lazy, but it does, and this thing does everything it's supposed to. And I mean, what else can you buy that you know that's going to last like this other than like the 4Runner?
Well, all the Toyota and Lexus products that people go nuts about, you know, like really this is just an extension of all those. It's,
again, right? I mean, this is a broken record. The realities of ownership for this are probably less glamorous than you know, people's perception of this. You know,
what it really, it's cool to the people that know what it is and appreciate what it is, and then to everybody else, it just looks like
a big Toyota truck.
Yeah, big Toyota truck.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
I will miss this when it's gone, and I think you know, Toyota's new direction, getting away from V8s, going to a turbocharged application in the Tundra, really does make me sad. And I don't know how the Toyota buying population is going to feel about their new direction with their products.
Yeah, this is the crazy part about being in this world of driving and testing all these products that we know are short for this world. We know this is going to be gone. And right now I'm kind of like, I don't appreciate it at all, because one, it's a press car. Two, I know you can still buy it. You know, there's a lot of them out there, but that tune changes over time. You soften to it. And I think when we get in cars that are full of every single thing that has a screen to interact with, that the physical control part of it, that tactile
and
control
are
part of
totally
it,
disposable.
When that replaces this completely, I'm going to get in here and think, why was I so hard on this? And that's the truth of it.
So Mark, with that, let's get into the final thoughts.
All right, Jack.